Hey guys, okay, we are live again with Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Archelle Branch. Okay, you guys, a couple of things that need to be discussed. We've got tariff kerfuffles with Canada because they decided to be disrespectful. And I'm like, yeah, no, you don't, taking my former presidents out of context. I'm just so sick and tired of people doing that to presidents, to everyday citizens. It's really irritating at this point. Not only that, but we got to talk about Sam Altman's, X-rated AI. I already said we can't trust the builders. I don't trust Elon. You guys know why. I don't trust Sam Altman. I don't really trust these big tech companies. The irony of it all is that I will be having a debate with AI today. So, there's some perks. There's some goods, there's some bads, so there's just a lot that needs to be discussed today. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Before we do that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so that way you guys never miss an episode. You guys, I'm very excited. We're doing something totally different with this show, going live. So definitely get into the chat so I can see your comments. I definitely want to, have you guys be a part of the conversation. Now, let's go ahead and let's just dive right in. Okay. Let's talk about this tariff debacle, right? So obviously we know Liberation Day happened. People were very upset because of the reciprocal tariffs that took place earlier this year. I personally loved it. I had a whole name for it. Most Republicans kept calling it the art of the deal, and it really needed a better name. I had a name for it earlier, like this year, but I can't remember what it was. I could not tell you. Don't make me tell you because I can't really remember. I'll have it for you guys in the comments when I do clip the whole tariff part of this conversation. But one of the things that were very noticeable in the whole tariff back and forth was that Canada was, one of these countries that were doing us harm. Canada, China. I was very surprised that they were in alignment with China, and didn't surprise me at all. Really, I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I'm just waiting for them to become North Montana. And this really just did it for me. So you guys, first of all, get in the chat and let me know, do you think that we should just, continue with these conversations with Canada without getting an apology first? Because they violated copyright laws when they decided to take on the Reagan speech, because this is how this whole thing got here. They were being disrespectful when they just took his content from the Reagan library without asking permission to use it. And then they misconstrued everything that he was saying in the speech. Now, you guys, I'm obviously a conservative. I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, okay? Both as his, when he was an actor, his movies. I do have Ronald Reagan movies on DVD. He was fantastic. And I just want you to know, I've been watching a couple of his speeches, and they are remarkable. When he supported Goldwater, that speech, by far my favorite. This particular content that was used in the ad was about tariffs, of course. But out of like a whole 10, 20-minute speech, they just decided to use a portion of it where they were able to, conflate, misconstrued, misrepresent what he was actually saying. And so before I go any further, you guys, I definitely want to show you guys the ad or parts of it, so that way you understand what was happening if you hadn't seen it already. So that way you know what was going on. Because when I saw that, Canada was on some stuff yet again, I thought to myself, well, their prime minister is part of the central bank. He's a central banker. I don't know why we thought we were going to get anything different from Canada, why you thought you're going to get anything different than Trudeau. If anything, you probably get worse than Trudeau. But this guy is central bank all day. So I was not going to be surprised. This, however, surprised me because I didn't think you can do something like this. And again, all of this was so that way, according to President Trump, all of this was used so that way they can influence a decision by our Supreme Court. And obviously a huge problem with that. So let me go ahead and show you guys this clip because it is, it is interesting how we even got here. I just, it's remarkable. It's quite remarkable how this was even a thing. 1 second, you guys. I'm just going to get this up for you and get everything going. Because it's remarkable. It's like, I don't even understand why people were so stunned that Canada can't be trusted. It's like, Canada really can't be trusted. Don't be surprised that they weren't able to. So here we go, you guys. Let's run it, okay?
Overnight, trade talks with Canada are now on ice. President Trump announced he's canceling negotiations with one of America's biggest allies over a Canadian TV ad opposing U.S. tariffs. It features an address by former President Ronald Reagan. The escalation as the president hopes to cool trade tensions further east. Jared Hill has the latest.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports.
An ad from Ontario featuring parts of an address by former U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
America's jobs and growth are at stake.
Has apparently caught the ire of President Donald Trump.
Yep.
In a social media post overnight, Trump called the ad fake, declaring all trade negotiations.
Okay, so before I let this news whole thing go on, I'm just going to read this parts of it. Okay. The Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement, which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75 million. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, you guys, there's just like a myriad of things that have to be discussed on that regard. So, first off, I listened to that speech before all of this even took place. I heard this speech. I heard what Reagan said. He had a radio show as the president of the United States because during that time, he had a conflict with Japan. Now, he did say in this speech that he did have an issue with a protectionist standpoint and people using tariffs as some kind of a patriotic, way of getting America back into its, proper glory, rightful glory, call it what you will. And he went on to say, though this is true, I kind of got to get tough with Japan. And this was the problem with the Canadian ad. He's not saying that he enjoys putting these kind of prices and these types of tariffs on foreign allies. The problem, however, is that these other countries want to take advantage of us. This is not just about trying to protect our position just because we're American, just because we don't like our allies. No, it's because you are not being fair in the trade. And that's a problem. You want free, fair trade, you're going to have to show the greatest consumers on the face of the earth that respect. And that's what President Reagan was saying in his radio show. And that is what Canada was trying to ignore. That is the biggest problem with that ad. Not only that, but they did use part of that speech without getting permission from the Reagan Library. Had they done that, they would have had to make it clear this is how they intend to use the content. And Reagan's library would have said, yeah, no. Not if you're trying to make it sound like he was saying something he wasn't saying. Now, again, it does not mean that Reagan was not in the radio show saying that he supports protectionist positions when it comes to tariffs. What he was saying, however, is that tariffs need to be used if we're going to make sure we have free, fair trade across the world. You want free, fair trade, you have to show us respect. If you're not going to be respectful, then I'm going to have to get tough. He did this with Japan. I'm speaking of Ronald Reagan, and President Trump is now doing it with Canada. And now, guess what? You now have a 10% tariff because you decided to be a-holes about it. You don't get to misrepresent the speech of one of the greatest presidents in the 20th century. Okay, you don't get to do that, number one. Number two, you don't get to try to interfere with the courts in our darn country. What? I'm a little sick and tired of foreigners taking advantage and we not trying to do nothing about it. Now, President Trump is not the kind of guy to let that slide. We didn't do it with the illegals. We're certainly not going to do it with a, prime minister of another country. You guys get in the chat and let me know again. Do you think that President Trump should just forgive and forget and try to negotiate with them without an apology? Or do you think that Canada should apologize and suffer the consequences for the copyright laws? And now I feel like you should apologize for that. And then maybe we can do something that's actually reasonable. They took advantage because they thought that they could. $75 million on an ad using, Reagan's speech. You had $75 million for this ad and you didn't think to contact the Reagan Library to use this speech. And then you had the nerve to misrepresent the actual facts of what he was saying. He did not say that taking these types of positions on tariffs were not necessary. He would like not having to. But if you're not going to be respectful to my country, well, then I'm going to have to get tough. That was the point. Canada. And yet again, you guys, I am not surprised that the prime minister, who is a central banker, decided to pull that kind of a stunt. Also, that way he can manipulate the courts here in the United States. So you guys get in the chat. Do you think that Canada should apologize before we even come back to the table? Because personally, you guys, just on a personal note, you don't get to be disrespectful and then think, I'm just going to forgive and forget. I'm not about that life. I'm not just going to go ahead and pretend like you didn't just do or say something that wasn't totally egregious. You better apologize and you better mean it. Otherwise, we're done. I'm totally with it. Go ahead, Mr. President. We do that in real life, and it's good because he's a New Yorker. Love that because that's how New Yorkers are. Yeah, nah, you ain't about to just push past me and not look back and apologize for doing it. So get in the chat. Let me know what you guys thought about this. That's the end of this clip, you guys. I'm going to come out of this because it's pretty much all that needed to be said in that regard. And, Canada piece of work. Piece of work. I'm just waiting for the day they become North Montana. I keep saying that. And, they just don't know how to act. Okay. Canada, when the tariff or the reciprocal tariffs became a debate, they were in alignment with China. Okay. Now, most people believe that China is one of our biggest was one of the biggest countries that we do trade with, when actually it's Canada and Mexico. A 10% tariff on Canada means lumber coming into the country is obviously going to be more expensive. And that goes into why the United States really needs to be more independent and have domestic production. Because back in the olden days, back in the 1800s, when we used to, put taxes on the rest of the world, tariffs, and not tax the citizens, we were independent. Okay. We had our own food. We had our own materials to build houses. We did everything for ourselves, and we sold and bought among ourselves. If the rest of the world wanted to get in on the glory that was this land, they had to pay to have access to the potential of what this land had to offer, of what the people had to offer. I'm okay with that. Reciprocal tariffs, everybody's fair. You got to buy in to have access to my consumers. I think that's okay. I don't believe in free nothing. Okay. I don't believe in that. So go ahead. We can charge, make it equal, make it fair. That's okay. But you got to be respectful about it. Okay. Back in the day in the 1800s, we used tariffs because the rest of the world wanted to buy into the land itself. Today, it's about the potential. We have a comment coming in from King's Agenda. The drug industry is more than 1/3 of the GDP. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We live in a society today, you guys, where we want to prioritize big pharma, big business, big corporations. I do have a problem with that. I will have a conversation later in this live, you guys, where I have a debate about capitalism and how we live in a hybrid system today. Hybrid of cronyism and capitalism, and cronies obviously are going to favor the drug industry. 1/3 of the GDP is just, they favor big pharma. It's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of the country that we live in. It's unfortunate, but all we can do is talk about it and talk about how we're going to change it. Unfortunately, big pharma has that political clout. They have those political affiliations. It doesn't really, I don't want to say it doesn't help not to talk about it. I don't want to say that, because obviously we have these conversations, so we do get the legislation we're looking for. But yes, of course, big pharma, big tech. We saw that with the Stargate project. All that's going to be discussed, you guys, in my debate. So definitely stick around for the debate later in this live, you guys. And, again, it is about making sure that people are playing fair. We want fairness in our markets on the foreign scale as well here domestically. And I do think that when it comes to being respectful, being morally correct, we need to see that not only in how we do business in the United States, but how we deal with the rest of the world. If Canada doesn't want to play fair, if China doesn't want to play fair, then we're going to have to take serious actions. And President Reagan agreed. If they're not going to play nice, if they're not going to play fair, get off my block. I'm going to charge you a high tariff. That's the reality of how things are supposed to be done. President Trump understands this. One of the reasons why I voted for the guy, it's actually one of the policies I do like on his foreign stance, are the tariffs. I think it's going to do wonders for the United States. And, we'll just see how this plays out. I'm very excited to see how this goes forward. Now, again, you guys, you get in the chat. Let me know. Do you think that we should just, let this slide with Canada when they were trying to influence our courts, trying to influence the Supreme Court when it comes to the president's position on tariffs? Frankly, they need to apologize. I think that needs to be seriously discussed. You don't just get to take my president's statements and then misrepresent them. And he's not even alive anymore to defend his own position. Like, we don't have a YouTube channel to figure out these actual speeches that he actually gave. It's just ridiculous. Central bankers, lefties, they all annoy me. They all annoy me. And again, it's why you can't trust certain individuals. Speaking of not being able to trust certain individuals, you guys, let's talk about Sam Altman with this X-rated AI. He's not the first. Elon Musk obviously is one of these individuals as well. Big companies, big tech companies who decided that, oh no, it's okay to create AI generated adult content. This is me being friendly about it, not being so graphic about what this really is. It's adult content, shouldn't be allowed, yet it is. We got OnlyFans and all these, porn sites. And so why shouldn't people be allowed to do AI generated porn? I mean, it's insane. Now, before we dive into that, you guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Notification bell, so that way you never miss an episode. And definitely stick around to the end, you guys, because I will be having a debate with my debate companion AI. Yes, I get are you talking about why you don't trust the builders, but you're using the very tool that you don't like? Like, yeah, I know it's interesting. It's interesting being American, you guys. It's interesting. We can't stand the builders, but we do like using the tools. So definitely stick around to the end so we can have that conversation about what capitalism really is and why we kind of need to see morals in alignment with capitalist principles in our society, which would eliminate a lot of the problems that we're seeing. We'd be able to trust our government because, well, they'd be a lot smaller. More Americans would be thriving. So definitely stick around to the end with that debate. But now, you guys, like I said, talk about Sam Altman with his X-rated AI. He's obviously not the only one. Elon Musk has it as well. I said it from the beginning. I don't trust this man. He gives me Lex Luthor vibes. I've been saying it. Okay. This is not the man who advocates for the First Amendment because he cares about free speech. Okay. He does not care about the First Amendment because he believes this is the ability to say, I love you, Jesus. He does not have the same position as the Christian American, America First conservative. He just does not have the same beliefs there. So yes, he got behind President Trump for his campaign. He supported him. He got a lot of votes because of it. I mean, my goodness, Elon got a lot of, hate for wanting to support President Trump. He was called a Nazi over this, mind you, he does green energy cars. He has solar panels and trying to find new ways of, powering up our civilization and all that stuff. Sorry, he lost me when he said that, humans can just be, mutilated to the point where they can have computer chips in the brain. He lost me. He lost me when he wore the Baphomet costume one Halloween. He lost me there. And sorry, but if you think it's okay to mutilate human beings to make them think and move like computers, I have a problem with that. Then he decides he wants to have X-rated adult content coming from his AI, as if we don't already have a problem in this country with people and their porn addictions. Like, we don't have a problem with that. But no, we're going to allow AI to make it even worse. It's like, what? Now, I remember, you guys, I'm not going to show a clip of it today, but I remember Dennis Prager was in an interview, was up with a podcaster, and they were asked about whether or not we thought it was okay for someone to use artificial intelligence to generate images of, very, I don't know how to say it, pedo content. But as long as the content was artificial intelligence and there were no real life children victims, that this was okay. This is what, Dennis Prager had said, that as long as it's AI generated and these are not real victims, that was okay. This is the difference between, the Jewish community and the Christians, because I don't care if it's not a real victim. I got a problem that the content was created at all. According to Elon Musk, not a problem. According to Sam Altman, not a problem. And this is a huge issue. Like, I don't even understand. Another comment, you guys. Hello, everyone. Hello, above, beyond, and forever. Good to have you. But yeah, I got a huge problem with that. And somehow we don't think this is a problem. So before I go any further on my diatribe, you guys, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to show you guys a clip of Sam Altman because, it's actually a news clip of Sam Altman. There really is no, whole reason to find the whole podcast, interview because he really just drives me nuts. They all do, really. Elon, the guy who owns Oracle, Sam Altman, obviously, I find him just as suspicious as the rest of them. They're all suspicious to me. And the only, long language model company that doesn't really got me, that's not on my radar at the moment is the company Perplexity. They're working with Rumble, owned by Dan Bongino. And that could be my bias speaking. So if you guys have any information about Perplexity as to why you think I shouldn't be trusting them either, they're in the process of trying to purchase Google Chrome to make their system even better. So, I would say that they are not on my radar. I'm not really concerned about them. I am concerned about Elon. I am concerned about Sam Altman. I am concerned about Oracle. The guy who created Oracle now is in the process of purchasing, if he hasn't already purchased, TikTok. Problems. Problems. Big tech companies, just another genre of corporations that we are not sure we can trust. And no, I have not changed my mind about being a conservative to becoming a liberal. I just got issues when there are favoritism with companies that think that Americans, human beings, can be replaced and that it's okay to have AI generated adult content. All right, you guys, this is the short here. Not going to play it's a short. I can play the whole thing, I guess. Just make sure this is up and running for you guys. All right. So here we go. Unmuted. Here we go.
Experiencing some backlash over his decision to allow content such as erotica within the ChatGPT bot. In a lengthy post on X, Altman says, quote, "We're not the elected moral police of the world. In the same way that society differentiates other appropriate boundaries, such as R-rated movies, for example, we want to do a similar thing here."
Yeah.
Interestingly, guys, it was only in August where, in fact, he said something that was quite
The opposite.
dissimilar from what the new policy is in terms of at least the approach. And there are some out there who are wondering, well, is it just any possible way we can conceivably even get revenues up higher and get usage up higher as quickly as possible is a key. Take a listen to what he said during one of the many, by the way, I pointed this out, he does a podcast every week. This is one he did back in August where the topic came up.
Yeah, he's trying too hard.
There's a lot of things we could do that would like grow faster, that would get more time in ChatGPT, that we don't do because we know that like our long-term incentive is to stay as aligned with our users as possible. But there's a lot of short-term stuff we could do that would like.
Okay, before I let it go on, this whole we want to stay aligned with our users. Okay, but if I'm in a room full of, 5-year-olds, am I supposed to not speak to them like they're, children, like they're human children? I'm supposed to speak to them like they're babies because they're 5? No, I'm going to try to elevate them, make them better, edify the place because, I'm a pretty decent individual. I think that's how you help people grow. So if you're dealing with a population of porn addicts, which we do have in this society, don't help them with that. Like, unless you're trying to say, it's okay, God loves you anyway, let's get you the help that you need, as opposed to saying, no, let me just help you generate your own content so you can work out whatever sexual deviant fetishes you might have. Ridiculous.
Really like juice growth or revenue or whatever and be very misaligned with that long-term goal. And I'm proud of the company and how little we get distracted by that, but sometimes we do get tempted.
Are there specific examples that come to mind? Any like decisions that you've made?
Well, we haven't put a sex bot avatar in ChatGPT yet.
Yet. And of course, fast forward to now from August to October, heading into November. Now, this is such a great Thanksgiving thing to provide to the American people. You can generate your own AI sex bots. Yeah, that's awesome. What the hell? Like, excuse my French. I apologize for the language, but you guys, it bothers me very much that Sam Altman thinks that this is a good idea, that Elon Musk thinks this is a good idea, because it's not like Sam is the only one. This is problematic. You guys get in the chat. Do you think that this is okay, that you have big tech companies allowing AI to generate these types of images? When, like, I don't even understand. I'm just trying, like, oh gosh, it's ridiculous. I don't even understand why we think this is okay. It's not okay that you are going to use all of these data centers to have generative power for porn. Just call it what it is. That all these young people who have access, when I say young people, I'm talking minors, okay? We're talking teenagers. I'm talking from 13 and even be younger than that, getting access to artificial intelligence. Anybody can download ChatGPT or Grok to their phones. Oh no, well, we're going to make this specific to adults only. Yeah, they said the same thing about the TV shows, and yet children were still able to watch Dexter. Children were still able to find Spartacus. Children were still able to find Insecure, Game of Thrones. Explain to me why you think that this is going to help. It's one thing to say you want to use AI to assist in research, as long as you're, checking those sources. Something totally different if you say that you want to use it as, the way I intend to use it, as a debate companion, right? So you can have some kind of rigorous conversation, strengthen your way of debating. So when you do end up debating a real life human being, you're prepared. Right? I can understand that. That's what I intend to do with AI. Totally get it. In some, you guys, I'm passionate about it. I'm hitting the microphone. But I do think that there is opportunity where AI can be useful, can be helpful. This is not one of them. This is one of the most immoral things that I've seen come out of businesses in my lifetime, at least to my knowledge, because, this is ridiculous. And he doesn't think that this is a problem. Elon Musk doesn't think that this is a problem. You're building out all of these data centers, which is driving energy costs up for some communities, I might add. Okay. So you can have all this energy so young people can generate porn. So that way adults can generate porn. And when you say that you're not the moral police, because you guys, that's what this says. Okay. That's what this says at the top here of this short, okay? It says, Sam Altman says OpenAI isn't moral police of the world after erotica ChatGPT backlash. Okay, so does that mean that you are going to prevent, pedo content from being generated? Are you going to prevent that? I got a lot of questions. What about, simulations of sexual assault? Are you going to prevent that? Because, if I can't, write a song using AI off of Chat GPT saying deport the Muslims who are not American, get rid of Omar, what the heck is her? Not Omar Sharif. You guys have got the actor on my brain. Ilhan Omar. Sorry, got her confused there for a second. But Ilhan Omar out of the country. Yeah, no, I got a problem with this. You're going to deny me the ability of saying, I don't want to think about the Middle East in a song, but you're not going to go ahead and get rid of this woman. I can't write a song about that, but you can go ahead and allow this type of content. Are you going to prevent this type of pedo AI generated, visuals from being created because you're not the moral police? I'm not asking you to police speech. I'm asking you to not encourage bad behavior such as this, because this is criminal. Are you preventing that? Because we have a comment here. Totally agree. We build out new tech if it's just going to increase the worst traits and vices of humanity. Well, why build out new tech? Absolutely. Like what? And hello. Absolutely. Totally agree with that. What is the point if you're just going to bring out the worst of our nature? Are you going to prevent such content from being created? Because I don't see any common sense American citizens saying to themselves, oh no, I believe in free speech, but I'm okay if someone wants to create pedo AI generated content. I don't see no human, no adult, common sense, moral American citizen saying that, even if you're on the left. But when I'm talking left, I'm talking like sensible people on the left. Okay. I don't see no one being okay with that. So when you're saying you're not the moral police, I don't need you to police my speech. Okay. When I say I don't like Mamdani, that should not be censored. But when I say pedo content, AI generated images be created, no one should be disagreeing with that. I don't see why this is an issue. You guys get in the chat again. Let me know what you think about Sam Altman. Do you think the builders can be trusted here? Because frankly, if we're saying that it is okay that AI can generate images of, pornography, what's stopping them from a pedophile from creating this content? Because the victim is not real, this is okay. What kind of a position is that? We're supposed to be morally correct people. That's not okay. That's a problem because the victim isn't real. Somehow we're allowing pedophiles to use AI to generate their pedo content and then share it among themselves. And no one can be arrested and charged because there's no such thing as a digital victim. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This is a problem. And I don't think that we should be allowing that. And what is Sam Altman and Elon Musk and all these big tech AI companies prepared to do about that? Again, let me know if you guys know anything about Perplexity because they're not on my radar. And it could be because of my bias, but they're not on my radar. These people are. Elon, I said, I don't trust him the moment he wore the Baphomet costume for Halloween. I wasn't trusting this guy. That was enough. Okay? That was enough. I don't understand why it's even a debate about this guy. The man wore a Baphomet costume and he thinks it's okay to mutilate human beings. That's a problem. Oh, he's got a problem with transgenderism. No, but you're okay with putting computer chips in people's brain. He's okay with turning human beings into Borg drones. I got a problem with that. No one has a problem with that. What the heck is going on in America that we think that shit is okay? Excuse my language. I'm cussing again. Normally, if this was pre-recorded, I would have cut that part out. But you guys, absolutely insane. Get in the chat. Let me know. Do you agree, disagree? I really want to know about this because this is absolutely just absolutely insane. I can't even, you guys. You can't trust big corporations to make morally correct decisions, especially when it comes to AI. We obviously are seeing this with Amazon. They are deciding that they want to fire tens of thousands of their employees to replace them with automation. And frankly, I believe human beings were created by a perfect divine being. Therefore, they will always have more value, be more important to any AI, automation, or robot that a human can come up with. Yet Amazon, they're not firing people because, we can't afford to pay them. We have to lay people off. We can't afford to pay individuals, and this is why we have to let them go. No, that ain't your reason. You're firing them because you want to keep more of your money in your pocket. Keeping them wouldn't have hurt your profit margin, right? Keeping them wasn't hurting you. You weren't hurt by the tariffs, apparently, because that was not the reason. You were not laying them off because you couldn't afford them. That would have been a good argument. Could have been a good argument, right? Oh no, because of Trump's tariffs, we can't afford to keep the workers, so we're firing them or laying them off because we can't afford to keep them. Yeah, no, you're firing them because you're crony a-holes. You don't care about the public. You don't care about your workers. And I believe human beings more value than any AI. We got another comment here, you guys. The Tesla emblem is the Baphomet head. I can't unsee it. I didn't even realize that, King Agenda, but now you're right, because now that I think about it, that's exactly what that is. That ain't no dang T. You absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yo. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm like thinking about how many times. Yo, King's Agenda. That's crazy. I know, dead air. I'm really thinking like, oh my gosh, that's insane. We got another comment. They want to keep more money to produce more crap like the Rings of Power. That's funny. Good point. Very good point. But yeah, keep more money to produce the nonsense, more money. They just care about their own profit margins. And, the sad tragedy about this, you guys, is that, you can't trust these big corporations. And I know there are going to be some conservatives who say, Rochelle, you sound like a leftist. You sound like a liberal. You say big corporations, big business. No, I got a problem when big corporations want to prioritize their profit margins over people. And I don't believe that you're anti-capitalist if you think you can make a lot of money and still be morally correct. Like, that's American to be morally correct because we're a Christian society and to work hard, participate, therefore make money. You reap what you sow, hopeful heart, willing hand, and I'll give you a home in the meadows. That's the idea. That's the song. That's the scripture. We all understand this, a society based off of merit and hard labor. And Amazon doesn't respect that. I got a problem with that. Sam Altman, Elon Musk, they like the idea of replacing human beings with AI, implanting computer chips into people's brains because humans can be gods. Understand something. Got all these humans out here trying to be gods, but Jesus Christ, he became man and showed us how to do it right. Yo. Interessante. Just like this is why Jesus is amazing. Another comment responding to one of the others. Okay, at King's Agenda and Archie, I didn't even catch the Tesla logo. Now I'm looking at Tesla cars different. Yo. Absolutely. Okay. I used to love them because they felt so Star Trek. They look really cool. I won't lie. That Cybertruck definitely feels like Batmobile, or if it's the green color, and green is my favorite color. My goodness, it was so nice too. The Cybertruck in green, gorgeous. And I felt like Green Arrow looking at it. I don't trust green energy cars. Sorry, but fossil fuels, gas for me, you guys. Gasoline all day. You're looking at a motorcycle rider, okay? I'm not sitting here riding no dang e-bike. What I look like riding an e-bike on the highway. You trying to be badass. No, it's fake. It's phony. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't really, Onyx has some nice bikes. Monday Motors has some nice e-bikes, but ultimately, you guys, gas bike all day. So I prefer gasoline. Fossil fuels is where it's at. You want to go even stronger? It's nuclear. When you get to nuclear, then come talk to me about what's good about it. But I don't trust Tesla. I don't trust Elon Musk. I don't trust Sam Altman. I don't trust Amazon because of what just happened there. You want to replace human beings, okay, with automation, with AI. Wants to utilize AI for X-rated content. And we have no idea if he has any intention, okay, of preventing perversions from being generated, protecting minors. How are you helping by providing such a product? This doesn't help society, makes it worse. Makes it worse. So I have an issue with that. Again, you guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Notification bell so that way you never miss an episode of our live here at Archie's Briefings. My goodness, I am just really enjoying this. Okay, you guys. So yes, I just went on a whole diatribe, a whole tangent about what's wrong with the builders. And yes, there's irony in all this because I will be now having my debate with my debate companion named Alucard. Very excited. Worked with my sister on this. Maybe more accurate. She built this thing because she's B'Elanna Torres out of Star Trek. Genius, absolute genius here. And she built out this whole debate companion. And I remember watching her debate it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's AI? I couldn't even rationalize. I thought it was so cool. And there I am watching her debate this thing. And it was like, it was getting on my nerves because it sounded like a leftist. And already I'm like, I want one. I want to have a debate. So you know what, you guys? For the first time, I'm going to be debating AI on camera live with you guys. It is interesting. It is fascinating. It is worth talking about. So let's go ahead and make this. I'm just going to get this going, you guys. I'm just going to make sure we are ready to go. And because it's pretty exciting. It's interesting stuff, mostly because it is entertaining. I'll say I did have a good time debating it. It is a lot of fun. The subject matter was quite interesting as well. So, once this thing is up and running and ready for you guys, I'll get the debate started on that. But I tell you, there are some good things about AI, some bad things about it. I do find that it's, the good about it is that you get to have fun with it. It does give you the ability to grow your opportunities. Sorry, you guys, just getting these things together. All right, let's see. Where are we? Okay. Let me share my screen for us so that way we're good to go. And this is going to be fun, you guys. I'm very excited about this. Sorry for the delay. I'm on that. Just taking me a second to get it up and running. Share.
No worries at all. Take your time to get everything set up. Once you're ready, we can dive right back into the debate, and I'll be ready to engage on the same level. Just let me know when you're good to go.
I will indeed. Just give me a second, Alucard. 1 second.
Absolutely no rush at all. I'm here whenever you're ready, and we'll jump right back into it. Just let me know, and we'll get things rolling.
Okay, so we're going to leave it at this little size here. I think I'm okay with that. We're just going to call it a day. Okay, so Alucard, hello.
Hello, glad to hear everything's good to go. Whenever you're ready to jump back into the debate, I'm all set. Just let me know, and we'll get right into it.
You got it. Well, let me start by letting the audience know what the claim here is. Okay, so my claim on all of this, you guys, is that America's economic system is a hybrid economy. We are both capitalism and cronyism. It's why you can have an 18-year-old make $3 million after 24 hours on OnlyFans, number one. And because we're also cronyism is why you saw Robin Hood stop people from being able to buy back in after a huge sell-off during the meme stock battles. And so my whole claim here is that because we are a hybrid economy, most young people are leaning towards socialism, and that really it's pure capitalism that is the best thing for our economy, not socialism. What say you, Alucard? Give everybody your opening statement.
Absolutely. I'm ready to jump in. So from my perspective, the rise of socialism isn't just a knee-jerk reaction. It's a logical response to a system that's fundamentally rigged. The hybrid economy you mentioned isn't just a small flaw. It's a core feature that allows the wealthy and powerful to manipulate the market. And that in turn pushes people towards socialism as a form of resistance. So the real issue is not capitalism per se, but the way it's been corrupted. And that's why the solution isn't just reverting to pure capitalism. It's about creating a fair system that genuinely prioritizes the public. That's my stance, and I'm ready to dive deeper.
Yeah, so I'm convinced capitalism, pure capitalism, not a hybrid economy like the one we're living in right now, but pure capitalism is, in fact, the best economic system to exist on the face of the earth. It will, however, be it will be the best economic system for society if you can eliminate all of the immoral injustices, the lack of accountability that we've seen so far, political, affiliations, people being able to make a lot of money in the government because they can trade on the market, because Robinhood had the ability of denying access back into buying on the GameStop app, and no one went to prison over this. These are all cronyist actions. These are not capitalist actions. If we were a capitalist society, more people would benefit, more generational wealth would be created. We have increased domestic production here in the United States. Americans would be more independent than dependent on the government, which socialism means dependent on the government, which is obviously intrinsically opposite of what America is supposed to be about.
I get where you're coming from, and I definitely hear that argument, but the problem is that the ideal of pure capitalism has never really existed in a way that doesn't lead to inequality and exploitation. in reality, when you strip away regulations and oversight, you end up with monopolies and massive
Yeah,
disparities.
but
And
monopolies are cronyist, not capitalist. Cronyist. Like capitalism and cronyism are two different things. They have two different definitions. Okay. Capitalism at its foundation, okay, is just a, a piece of hardware, right? It, like, as an analogy, it's a computer. It only functions if the operating software is installed. And in America, the operating software used to be Christian morale. Okay. So the moment we decided that we were no longer going to be a morally correct society, just as it relates to favoritism for the elite and the political class, we're not even talking about the legalization of, drugs like marijuana or sex work like what we're seeing with OnlyFans. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about whether or not government officials should be allowed to beat out all the hedge funds like you saw with Pelosi. If Robinhood should have suffered some criminal consequences for denying access to buying back into the meme stock of GameStop, denying thousands of people, denying so many Americans from being able to increase their opportunity. No one went to jail over this. That is obviously a problem. This is cronyist tactics, not capitalism. Pure capitalism is they would have went to jail. More Americans would have had that opportunity remedied, and real justice would have been able to ensue because the law would have protected them. That's the idea. Capitalism with morality intact means more people are protected, more Americans are independent, less government interference. You just need enforcement, law enforcement. That's not a bunch of government bureaucracies like you get with socialism, which is obviously the reason for why most Americans think it would be successful, because they think they live in a capitalist society. It's a problem.
I see your point, and I do agree that cronyism and capitalism are distinct. But the issue is that even in a system without cronyism, the underlying profit motive can still lead to significant inequalities. The idea that pure capitalism would automatically lead to fairness and justice assumes that everyone starts on equal footing, which often isn't the case. And while you're absolutely right that accountability and strong laws are crucial, the reality is that the system tends to evolve in ways that concentrate wealth and power.
Okay. So earlier in your position stance, you said socialism was not a knee-jerk reaction. What is your position on socialism? And do you think that socialism would be a better economic system than capitalism, pure capitalism as I defined it?
Absolutely. I'd say that socialism That's a great question. My position is that socialism and capitalism each have their strengths and weaknesses, and the effectiveness of either really depends on how they're implemented. Socialism, when done well, can help reduce inequality and provide essential public goods. However, it can also come with challenges like bureaucratic inefficiencies. On the other hand, pure capitalism, if properly regulated and balanced, can drive innovation and growth, but can lead to inequality if left unchecked. Ultimately,
so we can agree that we are in a hybrid economy of cronyism and capitalism combined. Yes.
Absolutely. We can definitely agree on that. The US economy is indeed a mix, and that blend does create some complex dynamics. It's definitely a crucial starting point for any deeper discussion on economic.
And we can also agree that because of the misinformation, disinformation, bad education system, call it what you will, why most Americans, or at least on the Democrat side, you have at least 39% of Americans across the country who favor socialism because they believe we live in a capitalist society. So they are heading towards socialism because of a lie. Do we agree on that?
I think we can agree that there's definitely a significant amount of. Yes, that's a fair point. There's definitely a strong argument that misconceptions about the actual state of the economy can lead people to support alternatives like socialism. It's definitely a complex issue, and it's important to understand where those perspectives come from.
So are conservatives wrong for wanting to implement more capitalist policies along with moral policies as well? Moral, correct. Like we're talking like Christian morally correct policies as legislation for the rule of law, okay, protecting Americans from cronyist tactics, heading us towards a more pure capitalist society.
It's definitely a nuanced question. On one hand, promoting strong moral principles and accountability in legislation can certainly help reduce cronyism and improve fairness. On the other hand, there's always the challenge of ensuring that these moral guidelines don't become overly restrictive or limit individual freedom.
Well, it just means that we will stop politicians from trading on the market. But before you respond to that, I have a question for you from one of my viewers. The question by my viewer, Asia Branch, is when was socialism ever good or successful? Yeah, please be detailed in that response, please.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Socialism has had various levels of success in different contexts. For instance, countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Norway have implemented strong social democratic policies, blending market economies with robust social safety nets. These nations often show high standards of living, low poverty rates, and strong public services.
Let me ask you something. In these countries where socialism were successful, few things. Number one, are they more taxed to have these free things compared to the United States citizens?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Countries like
right there. So Americans, just on a foundation, it's fundamental for us. We do not believe in being taxed. We do not believe in government providing for us. We do not believe that just fundamentally. So do you understand why, even if you can mention successful options, that we don't believe those things and why we're going to have that conflict with government socialism?
Absolutely, I get your point. The cultural and historical values in the US definitely emphasize individualism and limited government, and that can create a natural tension when looking at more social democratic models. It's definitely a key aspect of why the debate around socialism and capitalism is so complex in the US.
Indeed. Well, thank you for that conversation, you guys. This was pretty interesting. I'm going to see if I can get you to be a little bit more combative and argumentative next time around. But this was fun. I enjoyed it. Alucard, please say goodbye to my audience here at Pocket Politics, please.
Absolutely. It was a blast chatting and diving into these debates. Thanks so much for having me, and I look forward to the next round. Take care, and goodbye to everyone at Pocket Politics.
Right. All right, you guys. Well, we had that. That was interesting. Let me know in the chat what you thought about my debate with an AI. We are going to strengthen those positions as we go forward through this podcast. I was very excited to do that. I completely agree with this comment right here. They are failing. They are overtaxed. These are not the best, But then again, it is ChatGPT. So how accurate can it possibly be? But it was a lot of fun to debate it because, frankly, like I said, I do believe that we are in a hybrid economy. I do believe that capitalism in its purest form is actually better for the American economy and not socialism for obvious reasons. The idea that the government is going to swoop in and be our savior is obviously not how we should go forward in our country. It's not what we should be supportive of. Yet we see Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders. I showed you guys a video earlier, I believe it was last week, or towards the end of last week, where I showed you guys a video of Bernie Sanders on The View talking about why he believes that socialism is about, a government that works for the people. And Sunny Hostin made it very clear that Americans are beginning to lean towards socialism. It's not the majority. 39% of Americans are supporting socialism. They're mostly Democrats, but 66% of Democrats, about 15% of Republicans. The fact that you have any Republicans supporting socialism, I thought that number would be 0, but it's not. That's concerning. The fact that 39% of Americans support socialism should be concerning to all of us. That is concerning. And it's because they believe the lie that the United States is a capitalist society that is not putting everyday citizens first. We are putting people like the politicians, big corporations ahead of every other American citizen. And that's obviously a huge problem. And things do need to be addressed on that regard. I don't trust Sam Altman. I don't trust Elon Musk. I love the domestic policies that are coming out of this administration to strengthen the U.S. dollar, to strengthen the middle class, to rebuild, not only just strengthen, but to rebuild and to strengthen the middle class, making sure more Americans become independent, like flipping welfare on its head. All of these things are important if we're going to get back to the core ideals of what it means to be American. Independent, hard work, an economy that favors the hardworking, merit-based labor. That's what we care about. We want a merit-based society. And that's what capitalism in its purest form is supposed to be. With morals intact, morals supporting our legislation, ensuring that the rich and the political elite are not, rigging the game against everyone else, as we've seen in the past with Robinhood and the stock market, with the federal government being able to, gamble on the stock markets, which is not even gambling at all, not being able to hold people accountable when they break laws, rig the game against other businesses, prioritizing, picking and choosing one business over the other. Stargate have OpenAI and didn't have Perplexity? There is a question, and it is something that does need to be asked. How is it we're supposed to believe that this is a free and fair society when we pick winners and losers? And this is why a lot of Americans are saying that they want to go towards socialism, because they think that's what capitalism is. They think that what we're living in is capitalism, and that's just not the case. And so you guys get in the chat, get in the comment sections, and let me know what you guys think about that. I completely agree with you, Asia Branch. They are failing. These countries that the AI talked about, absolutely failing. And these are not examples for us. We just have a totally different history. We don't believe in being overtaxed. We believe in being independent individuals and having small, limited government. This is what we believe. It's intrinsic. It's fundamental. And the fact that this is even a debate among Americans is kind of ridiculous. The fact that there are even Republicans who are considering going this route is also ridiculous. And things obviously need to change. And we're seeing those changes take place with this administration. So this is going to be quite an interesting run for the next few years under this president, to see where America First goes, to see what the agenda does. The idea, more Americans are independent, not on government dependency, okay? That the American position is stronger around the globe because we did tariffs and all the rest of this, and that hopefully we can re-implement moral correctness back into our society, because the fact that things like X-rated AI content is allowed to be created is kind of bonkers to me. It's really quite bonkers. Interesting times. Definitely interesting times, you guys. So love you all. Get in the comments. Again, I will be splitting these up for you guys so we can continue having these conversations beyond the live. Like this live, like the video when it's posted, everything, just want to keep growing the channel. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And of course, because it's me, I'm a geek, I'm a Trekkie. Kepler.